Hi guys, Raphterra here. I hope that you are having an awesome 2021. In case that you're not aware, a new balance patch will be coming in less than 2 weeks from now. And with that, I thought it would be fun to make a video on the top 10 cards that I would like to see nerfed in this balance patch. Please take note that all of these cards are just my opinion. If you agree or you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments below. I will also be uploading a video on the top archetypes or cards that I would like to see buffed in the coming balance patch, so if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you're always up to date with my content. So let's start with the first one. The first card that I would like to see nerfed is Twisted Fate. Some people are saying that you shouldn't nerf Twisted Fate because it's the other cards that made him strong, cards like Burblefish, pick a card, stress testing. But in my opinion, I think that Twisted Fate should be tweaked even just a little bit. Because the way that the card is designed is just, he is pure card advantage. You have nothing to do on your turn, just do the blue card. Basically, with the blue card, you draw a card and TF effectively costs 3 mana because you discount 1 mana from the blue card. If we just leave Twisted Fate as he is, for sure the cards that will be designed will be limited and there will always be a new Twisted Fate that everyone will complain about. Remember when Go Hard was released? Remember when everyone was complaining about Twisted Fate Ezreal with Twisted Fate Swain? That will always happen because Twisted Fate is a very strong champion just by design. And with that being said, I would like to see 2 nerfs to Twisted Fate. The first nerf that I would like to see is regarding his champion spell and the main deckable card, which is Twisted Fate's Pick a Card. I'd like to see the mana cost of Pick a Card increase from 3 to 4 because as of now, you can just summon Twisted Fate on turn 4, draw 1 card with blue card, and then use your Pick a Card, which means by the next turn you already have 5 out of 8 of his level up activations, and it will only require a few more draws before he levels up. So if we make the Twisted Fate mana cost up to 4, this combo would have to happen on turn 5 instead of on turn 4. And as you know, in Legends of Runeterra, delaying your win by a single turn is very crucial. And the second nerf that I would like to see with Twisted Fate is regarding the blue card. So there are 2 options here. Either you remove the refilling 1 spell mana and blue card just draws 1, or you remove the draw 1 and maybe you refill 2 or 3 spell mana. Personally, I would like to see the blue card only drawing a card and not refilling spell mana anymore. I wouldn't want to remove the draw 1 because I am a personal believer that all champions should be able to help themselves level up, and because Twisted Fate's requirement is to level him up by drawing cards, removing the draw 1 from blue card would be counterintuitive in my opinion. But if you remove the refilling 1 spell mana, it will no longer feel like Twisted Fate costs 3 and it will no longer feel like a very unfair advantage in terms of mana and card advantage when you play Twisted Fate. I released a community poll earlier this week regarding this, and I saw a lot of varying opinions in the Twisted Fate nerf. If you agree with this, please let me know in the comment section, or if you have any other smart suggestions, please also let me know. And with that, I'll proceed to the next card, which is number 2, Wiggly Burblefish. Now, this is another card that I've been seeing in the community poll that I made, that people were saying that you should nerf Wiggly Burblefish because it is too strong and you shouldn't move Twisted Fate. But personally, I think that you should nerf both Wiggly Burblefish and Twisted Fate. When Riot released Wiggly Burblefish, I don't know if they underestimated the number of spells that you can cast in a deck if you build a deck around Wiggly Burblefish, because effectively, Wiggly Burblefish is always a 0 mana, 3-1 elusive that gives you 1 more 1 cost spell from all your regions. That's super fucking strong. In my opinion, that he should be nerfed to 10 cost in order to match the other cards which have a similar effect to Wiggly Burblefish. For example, we have Plaza Guardian, we have Arbiter of Ruins, and then we have Scuttlegeist, which all cost by 10 and then their cost eventually reduce. But usually the conditions of those cards are harder to achieve. The Wiggly Burblefish just requires you to cast spells. That's just super strong and it's super easy to achieve with only requiring 6 spells for this to cost 0. And with that, let's go to card number 3, which is Aphelios. I believe that similar to Twisted Fate, if we leave Aphelios just as he is, it will be very problematic in terms of card design because of one of his weapons, which is Crescendum. If we don't do anything about Aphelios for future card releases, Riot would always have to limit themselves when releasing 2-cost units, because if they release a 2-cost unit that is strong or has an interesting effect, you will always have to think about Aphelios because Aphelios can summon it from the deck. I also have 2 nerfs that I would like to see with Aphelios. The first one is his Nightfall effect. Instead of picking a moon weapon to create in hand, it creates a random moon weapon in hand instead. And I believe that that kind of design would add more variety to Aphelios games, because as it is now, turn 3 Aphelios, summon Boxtopus, use Calibrum. So you kill a unit with the Calibrum and then you kill a unit with the Boxtopus and then you just win the game off of that. Many mid-range decks are dying to that combo. Many board-centric decks are dying to that combo. And if we don't do something about Aphelios, mid-range will always be in a weak spot against Aphelios. And the second nerf that I'd like to see to Aphelios is reducing the damage of Calibrum from 3 damage to 2 damage. If you're playing this game for a long time, you know that the difference between dealing 2 damage and dealing 3 damage is a very big difference. For example, for Fiora, you can kill Fiora with a Get Excited, but you can't kill Fiora for a Mystic Shot. Get Excited deals 3 damage for 3 mana, and it requires you to discard a card. Another example is Gotcha. Gotcha deals 3 damage for 4 mana. Imagine, for 4 mana, you would have to draw it exactly in order for you to cast it for 2 mana. But Calibrum, you generate this card for free every other turn, or sometimes even every turn. If you have a leveled up Aphelios, you get to deal 3 to a follower. The fourth card that I would like to see nerf is the Veiled Temple. I personally am actually a fan of the Veiled Temple. I think that there are many interesting and creative archetypes that you can build just because Veiled Temple exists, but at the same time, I also acknowledge that it's a very strong card. That's why I would suggest a small nerf, that instead of granting your strongest ally +1/+1, you would only grant your ally +1/+0. This would make it so that your opponents can still kill or interact the unit that you buffed, instead of now where you create a very big unit and your opponent has no way to get rid of it. The charm of the card of refilling 2 mana, not necessarily spell mana, or it can be unit mana, I think that's the main charm of the card. I've seen other people suggest that this should only refill spell mana, but I personally think that would kill the card, and I don't want that to happen. I think for now, it would be healthy if you just nerfed it a bit in terms of the stats that it gives. Don't allow Veiled Temple to give health anymore, so that your opponents can still interact with the unit that you are buffing. The fifth card that I would like to see nerf is Lissandra. I don't want to see a nerf to Lissandra's stats or her effect or anything. What I would like to see a nerf on is on the Watcher. I think the Watcher can be pretty oppressive if you're not running a region that can counter it. Sure, there are counters to the Watcher like Targon with the Hush, Ionia with the Stun, and SI with the Vengeance. But specifically, Hush and Ionia have outs to Watcher, but for other regions, it's kind of pretty tough to deal with the Watcher, and it can come out consistently on turn 8 or on turn 9. I think that the deck is strong and it has its counters, but the player experience when playing against the Watcher I don't think is too healthy for the game. Because if you're not running the specific regions that I mentioned, you can be faced in a situation where you can literally do nothing in order to stop the Watcher on turn 8 or on turn 9. The nerf that I would like to see to the Watcher is that instead of obliterating the enemy deck when it attacks, instead it would leave one non-champion card in the deck so that you will still have at least one more turn in order to win the game or to have a counterplay. The next card in my list is something that I think people forgot, that this card was super oppressive before the Aphelios Champion package, before Aphelios expansion was released. This card was specifically dominating the meta. I don't know if you remember this, but the sixth card that I would like to see nerfed is Lee Sin. He can be very frustrating to play against, especially when he has Overwhelm already. He's super hard to remove because of the innate barrier that he gains every time you cast 2 spells. Also, I believe that once Twisted Fate is nerfed, which is I think pretty much confirmed by now that he will be nerfed 2 weeks from now, Lee Sin will be back if he is left unchanged, because the only reason why Lee Sin faded away from the meta is because he has a bad matchup with TF Fizz. But if TF is nerf and it's gone from the meta, Lee Sin will be back to dominate rank. The nerf that I'd like to see the Lee Sin is to remove the barrier. What I would suggest in order to still give him some sort of survivability would be if you cast another spell, give me +1 or maybe +2 health this round. I don't know how they would balance that, but I think a health gain is better than a barrier because he would be more susceptible to removal. He will not be able to block units for free due to the barrier. Basically, he still gets protection if you cast a second spell, but it's not super overpowered such as a barrier. I believe that this change will allow more decks to have answers to Lee Sin when he is leveled up or even in his unleveled up form. The 7th card that I would like to see nerfed is the Dreadway. And I'm not really referring to the Dreadway card itself, but rather to the concurrent timelines Ledros into Dreadway combo. Some people would say that this deck is weak. Some people will say that there are counters to this deck that you can just run the deck over before it reaches turn 9. But trust me, when future cards are released, there will be a super overpowered SI, PNZ deck if they don't change this. The fact that you just need to add concurrent timelines and Ledros to your deck in order to do this combo is insane. 60% chance to win the game on the spot with one card is insane. I believe that the change that is needed to this is to buff Dreadway to 8 cost. By buffing Dreadway to 8 cost, you will see people now probably play this card. No one main decks Dreadway, but probably new interesting Gangplank decks will be in the meta if Dreadway is buffed to 8 cost, and at the same time that removes the combo of Ledros into the Dreadway, that one hit kill that we all hate to be hit with. The next card in my list might be controversial. Some will say that the card is not too overpowered, but I believe it should receive a slight nerf. And card number 8 is Fiora. Yes, it's my girl. It's my favorite card. Fiora is here. And as much as I'd hate to admit it, I believe Fiora needs a nerf. If you're not familiar, Shen Fiora is a deck that has been in the meta for maybe over 6 months now. I don't know, when I started playing, back when Bilgewater was released, Shen Fiora was already an archetype back then. And if they don't make a change to Fiora, the archetype will just keep getting stronger. Imagine the previous expansion, Sharp Sight was added. Fiora Shen became stronger. And now this expansion, Golden Ages was added. Fiora Shen is now even better than ever. And the fact that in that tier 1 deck specifically, when you draw Fiora, you almost auto-win certain matchups and you're not really building your deck around Fiora. Fiora is just a part of the deck, but she gives an alternate win condition to a very strong deck already. I think that's the reason why it has been in the meta for so long, and I believe that she needs a slight adjustment. It's hard for me to say this, guys. It's hard for me to say this, but I think the change that I would like to see to Fiora is her becoming a 3-mana 2/3. This way, she can still deal with aggro decks, and you would have to build a deck around her, like the all-in Fiora with Failure, the all-in Fiora with Shurima, even the Fiora with Targon. Those are the decks that I would like to see with Fiora. Making her a 3-mana 2/3 would actually require you to buff her up in order to kill the 3 health units. And I mentioned before, similar to the Calibrobe change, being able to deal 3 damage and being able to deal 2 damage is a big deal in Legends of Runeterra. What do you think of this nerf? I think this will be very controversial, but I believe even if Fiora is my favorite champion, this is needed for the health of the game. Fiora Shen has been in the meta for so long, and there's no other card in that deck that would feel super oppressive. Something needs to change, guys. I'm not sure what it is. If you have other ideas, please let me know in the comment section. And then for the last 2 cards in my list, I don't believe that these will be nerfed immediately because both of these are new cards that have just been released. And I personally don't mind if they don't get nerfed specifically in this balance patch. But I believe that the next 2 cards are very strong cards in particular. I don't know if you are already detecting what these cards are. But now let's get into it. Card number 9 is Ruin Runner. Yes, it's the ultimate value card. 5 mana, 6/4, Overwhelm with Spell Shield. Oh my god, this card is just highly statted for the keywords that it has. If you've been running the Overwhelm decks, you know that you can just put Battle Fury on the Ruin Runner without any fear of Hush. I'm not actually sure what nerf they should give to this card, but for now I would say that a stat reduction, if it becomes a 5 mana 5/4, I believe that would be fine for now. This is a new card, so I doubt that they will nerf it that way. But I believe in the future, if they don't do something about it, this will become a very staple card in the meta. And the final card in this list, very similar to Ruin Runner, new card, very high value. I hope you can guess what it is. Card number 10 is the Dune Keeper. It's a 1 mana 2/1 where when it's summoned, you summon a Sand Soldier. This is a very strong aggro card that I think, if left unchanged, will be unhealthy in the meta moving forward. You can deal 4 damage potentially on turn 1 with this deck, which is a huge thing for aggro decks. If you've already seen the Azir aggro deck, if you've seen the the SI Shurima aggro deck, and there's even an SI Noxus aggro deck right now running around, Dunekeeper is a very strong card in that deck particular and in future aggro decks if it's left unchanged. I think that its stat line should be changed to a 1 mana 1/2. I think that would be more healthy. It could still be used as an aggro deck, but it doesn't deal too much damage if you summon it early. And that's it for my list. I'd just like to point out again that all of this is just my personal opinion. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me. Let me know in the comment section below so that we can have a discussion in our community. Thank you for watching the video. I will be uploading another video soon with the top cards that I would like to see buffed, so stay tuned for that. If you like the video, don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. I hope that you have a nice day. Bye-bye.